Today we're going to be covering the 17 marriages that Deadpool has been a part of. That's right, 17 times. It's actually 16, but you can kind of consider it 17, and 17 sounds like a larger number, so you'll understand in a minute what I'm talking about. But let's go ahead and get into our list. Deadpool's 17 marriages, the 17 times that he decided to hang up the Deadpool mask and get married, or the 17 times he decided to still be Deadpool but just be married while being Deadpool. You'll see in a minute. Shikla. Dracula's future wife, Deadpool, was supposed to deliver to him in her coffin. But along the way, he discovered that it was actually a plot for some crazy merging of the underworld clans. When Dracula wanted to kill Shikla, Deadpool messed with it by marrying Shikla because they fell for each other on the journey. This led to a legit wedding in the front of the entire Marvel universe and was touted as being Wade's true wife for a long part of his recent series. They eventually had to split up though because Shikla felt Wade was too attached to trying to become a hero and left him to go be with Dracula as they explored this new millennial world together. Gretechen Wilson. During a very bad storyline for Deadpool, we discovered that he was supposedly married before the plot and to someone we had never even heard about. We never found out anything about Gretechen Wilson as the whole thing turned out to be a evil villain's plot. But at the end, he's still looking at the picture of her because apparently he was married to her. We know nothing more about this girl because the story wasn't even good enough to continue. Satana Hellstrom. Satana Hellstrom was betrothed to a bunch of nerds who had summoned her, and then Deadpool rigged it because he discovered that these were actually the human forms of some top-ranking demons in hell. How did he rig it? By marrying her himself. They had a crazy adventure, but in the end, Satana annulled the marriage. Seems to be a common running thing for Deadpool. Rig some kind of a plot by marrying the girl he's on the adventure with. Captain Marvel. Well, she was mostly known as Miss Marvel back then, but on an adventure in Vegas in which Deadpool was fighting facehuggers, Miss Marvel came to save him. They fought them all and they supposedly won. Then, for some reason, Miss Marvel wanted to go for drinks with Wade. They had a crazy night of partying and enjoying themselves, which ended up with Wade asking her to marry him and she agreed. Off to the superhero chapel they went, and they were moments from being married when Captain America ran in to remove a facehugger from the back of Miss Marvel's head, which influenced all of her choices. So does this mean that Deadpool was almost married to Miss Marvel, or does it mean that he was almost married to a facehugger? I'm not really sure. Mercedes Wilson. This is a part of the whole T-Ray and fake Wade Wilson thing. So very long and confusing story later, there was a period where we didn't know if Wade Wilson was Wade Wilson. We still don't know, in fact, if he is Wade Wilson thanks to where this story left things off, but Marvel seems to have just forgotten all about this, or they're completely ignoring it. Anyway, the point of this story is that Wade was married to Mercedes, who was apparently T-Ray's wife. T-Ray claimed that he was the real Wade Wilson and that Wade stole his name in life. She was accidentally killed in one of the bouts going on in Deadpool's life, and then was resurrected from death by T-Ray to torture Deadpool. Then she rode off telling him that she wanted nothing to do with him. We still don't fully know that whole story because I believe it was left on a total cliffhanger where it was believed that Deadpool wasn't Wade Wilson, but like I said, Marvel seems to be ignoring that. He's Wade Wilson now. Vanessa from the movies, but basically Copycat. So Vanessa from the movies is actually a character within Deadpool's lore and history. Just like the movie, she lived with Wade for years and eventually they planned a marriage and such. Except Wade came down with cancer and kicked her out to join Weapon X. While in the comics, she was actually a mutant shapeshifter. So she came back around working with him, but he treated her like trash and she left him again. Now I know they never were really married as Vanessa and Wade, but I wanted to mention her because they kind of were. Twice. Next up is Anna, and you'll understand the whole thing with Copycat better. So Anna was someone that he spent a lot of time with during one of his adventures, eventually telling her to leave town to avoid being a part of his life. He gave her money to leave and start a new life, but in the end, everyone appeared to be involved and they were all betraying everyone else, and of course, she betrayed Deadpool, which led to burying Deadpool alive. She later dug him up to apologize and tell him that she wanted to be with him and trust him again, but he didn't believe her. So she gave him a gun and said that if he didn't trust her, he can kill her. So he killed her. Like, no joke, he just killed her right off. Fast forward some years and Deadpool found Anna alive in Vegas. They had a fun time, they got married, but the next morning he found himself alone as she left. It turns out Anna never actually came back from the dead. It was in fact Copycat, aka Vanessa, messing with him. Copycat yet again. Well, a sock puppet that looked like her. So in another story, Vanessa and Deadpool finally got married again. She was dying, and Deadpool gave her his blood to save her. Then they got married. Everything was perfect, right? Except it wasn't. Deadpool actually married a sock puppet that he thought was Vanessa, as she had actually passed away and he couldn't accept it. Every day he would walk out of his apartment with his sock puppet, aka his wife, and stop by a new chimichanga food truck that was parked right outside of his house. He didn't even know what a chimichanga was before all of this. Anyway, he would take the sock puppet on many adventures, but it was a sock puppet and eventually it got destroyed, and he had to deal with her loss a second time. This time he did accept it though, and in one final trip to the food truck before leaving, he told the truck driver about his wife, and he said that while he loved her, it wouldn't have worked out anyway. As it turns out, Vanessa, aka Copycat, hadn't died. She pretended to die, and since she was a shapeshifter, she was running the truck to keep an eye on Deadpool and see if he could deal with her loss. You know what's one thing that Deadpool doesn't have to worry about? That's hair loss, because when you're a mutant with the ability to heal through anything and you're fighting off cancer, the last thing you want to worry about is hair loss. But since most of us aren't exactly mutants who can heal through anything, and most of us are within the 66% of men who lose their hair by the age of 35, it's time for the rest of us to kind of be aware of how we can take care of that. And you can do that through our sponsor today, 4Hims. Now, 4Hims is a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and sexual wellness. Something that Deadpool could use across the board. I mean, this is Deadpool. He smells weird, his skin is horrible, and he has no hair. And you don't want to look like Deadpool, do you? So anyway, once you start to notice that you're losing hair, it's already too late, and it's easier to keep the hair that you have than replace the hair that you've lost. And if you order through our link down below right now, you'll get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today, right now, while supplies last. See the website for full details, but this would cost you hundreds if you went to the doctor or the pharmacy or to the Weapon X facility. Go to 4hims.com/top10. That's FORHIMS.com/top10. 4hims.com/top10. Now I shall return you to your regularly scheduled top 10 list right here at Comicstorian. Genosha, a person, not a city. Okay, this one's kind of a reach, but it is in fact a story in the Marriage comic book. Deadpool gets a thing called the Continuity Gem, which is apparently the 6th gem that we've never heard of. Even though he calls it the 7th gem, it gets even weirder from here. Once upon a time, Deadpool is blown off by what he calls one of his true loves, and then he uses this new Infinity Gem, the Continuity Gem, to bring in a new girl named Genosha, a stripper who is coming to the party. He professes his love to her, and then he uses the gem again to warp everyone to a wedding ceremony. A mad gunman shows up and shoots up the place, killing Genosha. He then remembers that the whole plot is actually something that happened in Knight Rider, and he curses the gem, throwing it aside and continuing his usual Deadpool shenanigans. The girl that he met at Starbucks. Okay, this one's a little bit sad. Deadpool and the girl that he met at Starbucks kidnapped a priest and brought her off to get married. Various Marvel superheroes jumped in to prevent this and stop Deadpool's whole thing, not knowing the true meaning behind what he was doing. He fights off S.H.I.E.L.D., Wolverine, and various other things, carrying the girl with him as he explains why he loved her and what he saw in her. Then we discover the true reason that he did this. Turns out the girl was dying of cancer, and she wanted to have a Deadpool-assisted suicide so she would die in a truly memorable way. Leave it to Deadpool to fulfill the wishes of the sick. A fake marriage to Penny. So in this one, Deadpool has a wife named Penny that was kidnapped by the Wizard. They end up in a sinking submarine in the Antarctic. With it sinking to the bottom, he knocks out the Wizard and finds out the Wizard has a backup teleporter which will allow him to go home. Penny tells Deadpool to go on without her. She's going to die in these waters with hypothermia and freezing to death and various things if he tries to get her out. But he doesn't listen, bundling her up and making a break for the shoreline in the cold, frigid weather. Along the way, he meets a wolf and they talk, and the wolf talks some sense into Wade's broken mind. There is no Penny. He's actually dragging the Wizard around this whole time, looking for the backup teleporter to allow himself to go home. Penny was short for Persephone, and Wade wrote himself a mental note in the form of a wife. I'm counting this since he thought he was married. Mystique. So for this story, it's a flashback inside of a flashback. Wade walks into a bar to meet the bartender and talk about his failed marriages. He explains that he was married to Loveland, his blushing bride, and brought her to the Weapon X facility after meeting her at a dog track and marrying her. She mocks Sabretooth and Copycat before throwing up everywhere and vanishing. Turns out she vanished after stealing the mutant files located at Weapon X, and it also turns out that it was actually Mystique, and it also turns out that Mystique was the bartender as well. Even though Deadpool wasn't happy about the whole thing, he just wanted her to sign the divorce papers so that he could move on. Outlaw, a girl with super strength. So this character popped up a few times in Deadpool's older issues as one of the girls that he would get with occasionally. There's a story in the marriage issue where it explains that they finally got married, but this is a girl with super strength and an insatiable need for sex. So basically, long story short, she saved Wade's life and then broke his pelvis so many times that he needed to divorce her. He also married Domino at one point. During his time with Cable and Domino, there was a mission where a married couple needed to infiltrate a marriage convention. Cable couldn't go since of all of his robotic stuff not working with the image inducers, so Deadpool and Domino were officially married to make it work. Mission accomplished, and she divorced Wade afterwards. He was only upset because he never got to consummate the marriage. Dr. Betty from the whole Savage Land zombie Deadpool plot. On one of the many trips to the Savage Land with Dr. Betty and the zombie head of Deadpool, they were captured by a tribe, and while being drugged, they were married. Dr. Betty was pretty pissed off and exclaimed the wedding didn't count, but Deadpool said he counted it, and he wanted to plan a honeymoon. The zombie head of Deadpool said that he would need more, drugs to knock her out to make that work, and Deadpool told him it was a low blow. Orksa, the giant hippo alien. Yeah, you heard that right. Deadpool apparently married a hippo alien at one point, and their honeymoon was in a gladiatorial arena where they fought a giant purple monster alien that eventually vomited up the wife of some alien king. I honestly don't know much more about this one, and I don't even know what happens after it because the marriage issue ends with him still together with her in space. I don't know, maybe he just got tired of being with a hippo bride. I know there's more to the storyline, but this is really all you need to know about it, I think, to really let it sink in. And there you have it, the marriages of Deadpool. If you're wondering where all of this came from, I won't even lie, kinda cheated. Most of these were explained in one issue of Deadpool in which he was telling friends about all of the times that he got married to the girls that he loved in his life. It's issue 27 from the 2012 to 2015 run, the issue where he actually married Shikla. Either way, these all count.